Hello, I'm audio centric, but don't tell my parents. I'm still in the audio closet. Is
Excellent.
that
All right, that's perfect. And I should be in pretty good shape audio wise as well. All right, give me a little more audio.
hello, ev the people? Hello, ev the people.
Okay, perfect. I think we're about balanced there. All right. Without further ado, folks, here it is. It is episode 3 of the Ouija experiment. This, of course, is an ongoing series just for our Patreon subscribers. First of all, thank you very much for helping support the network. It is much appreciated and valuable. Um, Beyond that, though, we thought, well, how can we best thank our patrons? And I take that word seriously, like true patrons of the arts. And so, what kind of art can we provide? An exclusive glimpse into the mind of Legion podcast that other members would not get. Um, and it really revolved around my love of terrible movies that include the word Ouija in the title. Hence, the Ouija experiment. As you can see, we are conducting these experiments in the lab. I have a semblance of a coat with pins that will help conduct science. And so, here to conduct this experiment with me is our true partner in crime, one of my favorite people on the planet and host of Hello, This is the Doob Show, Richard Glenn Schmidt. How are you, sir?
I am doing very well. I feel like I'm gonna pass a big old fat individual doobie to a ghost shark tonight. Or is that a spoiler?
I don't think it's a spoiler. I think that is the thing that is the most ridiculous moment in the movie. I actually don't think it's the most ridiculous in the movie, but it's the most visually arresting stupid moment of the movie where you're like, "Wait a second, what's happening right now?" And the whole movie kind of begs the question. And the movie, of course, let's not sit on it. We're talking about Ouija Shark, is the name of this film. Um the whole question to me is how much in on the joke are they as filmmakers and creators of this.
I'm gonna say 150%. There may be a couple of people in the movie who weren't, but I think the people making it were all aboard the jokey train.
Y- yes, but also all right, that begs the further question. Even if you're in on the joke, is it okay to just not give a shit? Because that's the other
Hmm.
problem here, is that there's a whole lot of not give a shit. Um,
I believe you.
but we'll get to it. Let's set the stage for this. This is uh, uh, obviously straight to video, super low budget. The budget of this thing is about $300 Canadian. Um,
If that.
no, this is accurate. I'm giving you facts right now because
Oh,
this is
snap.
science. Three hundred
Nice.
dollars Canadian is
I'm
the
gonna
budget.
say that's 300 well spent right there, boy.
It's for $300. It ain't bad, but this is also one of about 40 movies that this director has done.
Yes.
And in this film, he's credited as Scott Patrick. The guy's real name is Brett Kelly and has done a number of movies, a lot of shark films, just anything. It's just all a bunch of this kind of crap, right? This one just happened to have the word Ouija in the title. Uh, so I was bound. I'm sure that I've seen more of his movies. I didn't go through the entire list of them because, again, he's directed in quotes 40 movies, or 40 movies kind of happened as he was aiming a camera. so, so had look, I've pointed this out in a couple of places now. This is your fucking fault
Yes.
because I did not say, hey, like Ouija Experiment and Ouija Experiment 2, totally my fault. I wanted to do those movies because they're ridiculous, and they are the movies that kind of launched the idea for this.
Mhm.
Ouija Shark, on the other hand, this is where we're venturing into new territory, and doing a movie that I didn't bring to the table. I can dupe a lot of people with like, hey, let's talk about the Ouija seance, and people will fall for that.
Right.
I got suckered this time. The table, like I was hoisted on my own petard, where where somebody was like, hey, what about Ouija shark? And early on, as soon as I mentioned this idea, you were like, Ouija shark, absolutely Ouija shark.
Okay, so two things.
Yeah.
When you sent the list of like, or I just did a Google search or an Amazon search for Ouija and then free to me on Prime,
Uh
I think this is the first thing that came up because I had watched Santa Jaws over the holidays, so they knew I was into some shark action.
huh. Hot shark
So
action, sure.
I've ruined my search preferences forever now.
Yeah, yes, my search preferences are garbage at this point. They are totally worthless.
So yeah, I jumped on this Ouija shark like a freaking grenade, and I saved the world. But I actually took you with me. So
Yeah, yeah. It's like if the Defiant ones jumped on a grenade, I suppose. So, anyway, uh, let's briefly discuss the events of this film, which,
yeah,
so, what Ouija Shark is ultimately the quick back of the box, as if there were ever a physical copy of this,
mm.
quote would be a girl finds a Ouija board at a lake, question mark, and it turns out to be possessed by the ghost of a shark, which then starts to eat her friends. Fair?
One by one, yes.
Yes. As well as some other people that just show up. My favorite, of course, being Judd, the alcoholic brother-in-law. We'll get to him.
Yes.
The true star of this film, as far as I am concerned. Either that or the shark itself, and that we'll save that for a moment. So the opening credits are kind of inscrutable because it's just a bunch of like old cartography drawings of sea beasts.
Oh yes,
And
we're in the public domain here, folks.
oh, absolutely. Stock footage or bust. And there's some of that, and there's also some like imp carvings, wood carvings and whatnot to sort of suggest evil spirit sharks, one presumes. And let's just get this out of the way right now. The music in this is terrible.
It is very wonderful music. The I actually really enjoyed the opening music a lot. That should say a lot about me.
It does.
Uh,
That's a problem, sir.
Speaking of public domain, the music, I'm guessing this is all stock music that like you purchase a license
Mm-hmm.
for a CD, a compact disc, and you rip MP3s from that disc, and then you make your movie.
Yeah, that's probably either that or you need a Mindscape account. One of the two. And, um, yeah, like we could because of the Patreon audience, we have a subscription to a royalty-free music site, and we could get as
Ooh.
good or better music and make a new soundtrack for Ouija Shark that I guarantee you would be better.
This music is 1 billion times better than a song that plays later.
You're not wrong.
Because there's a song of the movie by Goat, which is promised to us in the credits.
And on t-shirts throughout the film.
Yes. So Goat is represented. And I didn't mind Goat,
represent.
but there is another song in this movie that will peel the paint off your TV as it plays.
Yeah, and I watched within the same day, Richard, uh, the Ouija Shark, and on top of that, the musical abortion that is Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, the movie.
Wow.
And
Wow.
somehow my speakers survived. I'm surprised that my satellite speakers didn't actually like grow little legs and walk out.
The nightmares that those two movies together will inspire
Yeah,
I mean,
it'll make you
don't
give up on movies.
yeah, don't eat like a spicy pork sandwich or anything like a big spicy sausage because the three of those Ouija shark, freaking Sergeant Pepper's, and then pepper sausage,
Hmm.
it might kill you mentally.
They say you shouldn't go swimming after you eat or something here at this picnic table.
Which are invisible, the invisible hot dogs they couldn't afford.
Yeah. Oh my god. All right. So, yeah. So we meet Jill, who is the one wearing the goat T-shirt, and she pulls up to the woods where she's supposed to meet some friends who haven't shown up. And so it's one of those movies, man. Like, this is the point where my soul started to die a little bit watching this. When you see how long the camera lingers on her just walking to this, beach or rocky shore, it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh boy, this is one of those where we got to pad out some run time. So, ugh. So we do a lot of walking. She when she gets to the rocky shore, she texts again, and again nobody answers. So she's like, "All right, well, I'm gonna go stand in this waist deep lake water."
Which looks cold as hell.
It does look bitterly cold, and then there are some muddy underwater shots like this. I understand what they were going for. It did
Oh
not
my
work out at
god.
all. Um,
Uh, she says the immortal line, "Screw it. Time waits for no man, and neither do I."
yeah. Oh boy. This whole sequence, it really sets the tone for the film, and I don't think it gets significantly better. Um, the muddy underwater shots in particular were a thing where it was like, you tried, and I'll give you points for that, but when you saw what this footage looked like, you should have just stopped.
You got to wait for the sediment to like settle. You got to let it settle before you start filming.
Right, this was all done super quick. Get in the
Oh
water,
yeah.
whoosh. Okay, well, you can't hold the phone underwater that long, Richard.
Right. Put the bag over your head and jump underwater. Oh
Yeah.
wait, that's me. That's me killing myself. I'm sorry.
So Jill does. She thinks that there's something with her in the water, and one presumes this is the ghost shark itself, right?
Yep. Yep.
And
Maybe.
but she does a whole like, huh, is somebody there? And nobody is, so she gets out and goes back to the shore where now there is a Ouija board, much like the fog, where the driftwood washes up.
Accurate. Yes.
Except this doesn't, spew water onto a tape deck and make it spout like some metal ass dark history of the town. This just looks cheap.
It is one of a few handmade items. This is worlds better than the tarot deck we're going to see later.
Oof, yeah.
This was definitely somebody went to the craft store and got the wood and they aged it. At one point, they made a little mistake because it looks like they peed on it a little bit, but I think they just tried a stain that looked like urine once it dried.
Yeah. One end of it looks like it's always kind of wet.
Then they use that wood burning tool to do the Ouija stuff. We'll get to the planchette later because she doesn't find the planchette with it.
Right.
The planchette is a little bulky.
I assume that it was sleep crafted. I believe that Jill did it in her sleep, that she's good enough at basic woodworking.
Or she formed it in her mind in her sleep. It's an object that she projected onto the world, much like Sadako in The Ring.
Yes. So all right. So oh my god, there's so much to say. All right. So she once she gets out of the water and gets the Ouija board, she calls her friends, and this time they answer, and they're like, "Oh, I guess we were never headed to the beach in the first fucking place. We're actually going house sitting, which is where the real movie is gonna happen." And she's like, "Oh, okay, I guess I'll meet you there then. How do I get there?" And it is. This is the point where I'm like, I don't know if this is supposed to be a joke, but she repeats everything. Like,
Yep.
where do I go? To the house at the end of the lane. And how am I going to find it? Follow the red arrows? Well, I guess I can do that. Who else is there? All of the girls, you say. It's
Oh
awful. I mean,
boy.
like, as someone who has written a lot of shit over the course of my life, I've written some real stinky dialogue. This is rough.
Yep.
This is bad shit.
I love that. Like, I'm trying to, how do I put this? The fact that this movie segues from this beautiful park area to what is like just a few hundred yards away, which is suburbia, Canadian suburbia. I think that's movie magic. You know what I mean? Like that's cinema.
You're not wrong. There is an element of this movie that I find kind of inspiring in a real backhanded sort of way. That, like, I think this movie is utter shit. But I also think that it's inspiring because you can, for very little money, make a movie, and sometimes they could be good. This is not one of those, but it does feel like, you know what, if you wanted to, if you really wanted to, put your shoulder into it, you could make a movie.
And that's part of the charm. This is how many hundreds and hundreds of movies made for this budget are on Amazon Prime right now.
But
So
that's
great.
a double-edged sword to me, because on the one hand that's great, on the other hand, I mean, look, there's only so many hours we have in this life, and some of these are just not worth it. And I'm not sure that Ouija Shark is. We will come to a decision at the end of this. But
so you're saying my time on this earth is finite?
I'm afraid so. David Byrne was correct when he said finite equals all right.
That is whack, yo.
It is whack. They call that existential horror,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
Let me introduce you to some fine French authors who have covered this issue extensively.
Like Chef Boyardee.
One of the best. So now at the real movie, it's a bunch of girls. It's Donna the whore. But even though she's not really slutty, but immediately they're like, "No boys here, Donna." She's like, "Aw." There's Jill is the girl who was at the beach. This is the scene where I have to piece together who everyone is. There's the Velma of the group, a girl named Tiffany.
Yes.
Who disappears for most of the film.
Her subplot. Mwah.
It's yes. Again, this is something we will come to, and it's head scratching. So Jill shows up behind these girls who are Tiffany, Jen, Kim, who is the actual house sitter, and then Donna. And then Jill shows up and is like, "Hey, how about I make drinks for everybody while you guys unload all your shit?" And everybody seems to like that idea. Tiffany is like, "Fuck that, I got to go to the pool because that's why I'm here at this house sitting adventure we're all having together." And so she takes off, but she gets distracted. And this is the beginning of this sort of B plot with Tiffany, where she just stops and sees her uncle, apparently, washing his Honda next door.
Was there? Okay, he looked like an uncle.
He looks like an uncle. I don't think
he's
it's her
gorgeous. He's a gorgeous, gorgeous uncle man. And she just falls for him immediately.
This guy who is easily 15 years her senior. Who has a
you need some help?
And he's got a real like middle-aged Florida kind of look to him.
Yeah, very familiar to me.
Yeah, it's like, as someone who has been to Florida a whole lot, this is a look I see a lot there, where it's the trimmed beard and kind of the short, like a little bit of a party on top, but it's under control, and a little bit of a beer belly this guy's rocking. he's he is generously can be described as doughy. and this presumably young woman, like in her 20s, I guess,
Yeah.
just is starstruck, cannot believe that this piece of man meat is just there for the taking.
And what's great is that she's portrayed as the youngest of the group and like the
Yeah.
most silly. And so you think maybe she's barely 18. It's so disturbing.
And she's like, hey, do you need some help washing your car, Mr. Beefcake? And he's like, yeah. And that's it. And then we cut away from whatever filth is about to transpire here. I mean, we cut back to it a little bit, but
It's clean filth because they do clean the car thoroughly.
yeah, I just don't like. This is again one of those things where I'm like, I don't know if this is supposed to be a funny decision to have this guy be her father or like age appropriate to being her father. Or if that's just like, well, that's all we could get. That's like the guy who naturally lives next door. Because he's a real guy next door in the sense that he looks like a guy that you would borrow a spade from.
Yes, he has, compared to me, he has a very enviable body type.
Yes, but it's also entirely realistic and not great. It's good. He's not in terrible shape, but he's not in great shape.
His choice of music, though, for this car washing scene is the worst song.
Yeah, it's
It is one of those rock bands who combines the whiny yelling
mm-hmm.
with the sad guy lyrics, the broken heart dude who's like kind of like slightly more emotionally mature than a Limp Bizkit song.
All right.
And also
Perhaps a Disturbed?
maybe instead of the like heavy guitars and the screaming, they go for the blues drawl.
Mm.
So you kind of place this song around 2008, 2009. Had this song,
2008.
yeah, had this song been like 2012, they would have been the part
Right.
instead of the drawl, the blues drawl. This is exactly the kind of music I hate.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a company designed this specifically to hurt me. Like a corporation made this song.
Not the
I was
craziest
really,
thing I've ever heard.
I was worried that this was GOAT, and thankfully, this was not GOAT.
Yeah, Goat is definitely a step up, but again, not something I'm gonna rush to
No,
Spotify for.
no.
But yeah, so to finish that thought about this scene where they're doing the car washing, it is shot like one of those Playboy videos, except there's a weird uncle in it
And no nudity whatsoever.
Yeah,
Yes.
and just bra shots. And you're
Oh my
like, I
God.
don't know what or who this is for.
Whew.
Anyway, so Tiffany and her creepy uncle are off on their adventure. We there's some sense that Jill has had some problem in her past, but that thread is never really explored that much.
Nope.
And they play in the pool for a little while. Like there's a sequence in this movie where they just play Marco Polo for a minute, like legitimately. And I was like, this movie is an hour 10 and we got time to play Marco
Woo.
Polo in it?
Yeah, that's one of the things about this movie that's very redeeming in my eyes is I paused it to see how long it was, and I saw that 70 minutes, and I went, this is going to be working in Ouija sharks favor this short running time. Can you imagine if this was 95 minutes?
Unbearable. It would have been unbearable.
Wow.
Like legitimately, there's 7 minutes of credits. This is a
Yeah,
63-minute movie.
I have never seen a credit scroll that slow ever. Credit
Yeah.
crawl.
Yeah. The movie is exactly 70 minutes. Yeah, so there has to be like that's got to be Amazon's cutoff or something, where
Yep.
it's like, hey, if you're under 70 minutes, you're not a real feature, and they're like, it's the equivalent of that scene from Summer School where Chainsaw and Dave turned in their essay. It's like
Oh
that's why we
yeah.
were like Gore Master Tom Savini, very, 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 very,
Very,
very,
very,
very,
very.
very much. It's 1,000 words. You can count it. That is 100% what this is. And again, there is a charm to that, but you can only get away with that once, I feel. And I don't think that Brent Kelly has only done it once.
No, sir.
So anyway, they make some more drinks. Then they decide they're gonna grill out, and meanwhile Jill is like, you know what? Wake me up when the food's ready. I'm gonna go take a nap. Where she dreams of the beginning of the movie and also
Oh
a little bit of
yes.
stock footage of the
Oh
shark.
man. This is a movie trope that's so great and even more egregious here. I love when you have like the flashback sequence where a person who's known someone their whole life is they're seeing the whole relationship flash before their eyes as they're dying or something, but it's only clips we've seen from the movie.
Yeah.
Like they don't have anything before that. This takes it a step further, and she has a nightmare about earlier that afternoon, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, she hasn't even had time to turn that into a long-term memory yet in her brain, and immediately she's obsessed. And so Donna is the one who cooks out because apparently she's an expert. But when we cut to him again, this is the shit that's like, just make it look a little like show a little bit of effort. Because when we cut to them after they've eaten, the plates are all perfectly spotless. There is not a single drop of any beverage in any of the cups. And it's like, just try a little bit. When they
Nope.
say like, oh, we just finished dinner, put some crumbs and shit on there, squirt some ketchup around. That's all you got to do.
Or even just say, well, thanks for clearing the table.
Right. And then just don't deal with it.
Yep.
But it's just so lazy. That's the shit, Richard. That there's a charm to this movie, but then there's a laziness to it also
Yeah.
that makes me really dislike it.
It's my speed of filmmaking. I'm liking it.
Like if I were making the movie, I feel like I would try
Wonderful.
harder.
I would try less.
Well, I would definitely try harder. Like if I were making a Ouija shark, I give a shit enough about how silly the premise of Ouija shark is to make it as ridiculous as possible. And there are
Base,
moments of that in this, but there's also just people wandering through the woods for 10 minutes.
yeah. Based on my filmmaking experience, I'd be like, yo, Amazon's, I say yo all the time. Yo, Amazon says the movie has to be 70 minutes. And I'd be like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah.
Pass them the movie, and it's 16 minutes.
This is a real like handed in the day before it's due.
Too much work.
C minus. This is a solid C minus.
This is an A for me because I wouldn't do this much work for a movie.
Uh,
They work too hard on Ouija Shark.
well,
Man.
this is where two roads diverged in a yellow wood, Richard.
And people actually showed up to be in the movie. That also doesn't happen with me.
That is the fact that anyone, and maybe that's the problem with Tiffany, was that she was like, she showed up for day one and was like, I'm not coming back. I'll be here for I'll come back Friday. How about that?
Yes.
I'm all
They found a seamless way to write her out until later. Perfect. Didn't even
Yeah.
notice.
I'm gonna look. I've got to work all week at Cheddar's, but
Yes.
I Julie's gonna cover my shift on Friday, so I can be back to film the rest of this on Friday.
Yep.
Um,
The thing about Cheddar's is they're a scratch kitchen.
God bless them.
I don't know what that means.
I think it means that everyone's got really long nails.
Oh, okay.
So
Thank you.
So this whole thing just reads as a high school production. That's the problem. Anyway,
Yeah.
so they're debating what to do for the night, and being a Ouija film, of course, they're like, hey, how about we use this Ouija board that washed up on the shore?
Yes.
And somebody's like, is that in wet? And she's like, no, 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 it just looks like that. I don't know why. And and then here's where she whips out this just doorstop of a planchette that she must have whittled in her sleep.
I'm so glad this is a video because it's like this long and the board is only like this tall. So the planchette is like going to go off any second. It's great.
It's way too big. It's way too thick too. It's like 2 inches thick. It's like they got the double baconator instead of the single.
Speaking of Wendy's.
Yeah.
Well, we talk about Wendy's a lot.
We have been talking about Wendy's a lot.
There's a great line here where the one girl looks at the Ouija board and goes, is that a hoo-ha board?
Yeah. And immediately Jill is like, no, you dumb bitch. Because Jill is not having it from anyone at any time in this movie.
Jill has a short fuse.
It's very like about 4 syllables. And she'll just turn on you. And but Donna backs down. She's like, oh, okay, I just heard sometimes that awful things can happen. She's like, well, we're fucking doing it. So suck it up, Donna. And there's Jen, who is the blonde, who doesn't really have that much to do in this movie. Not that anyone, has a big arc. But Donna comes closest to being a real character. Anyway, so they just gather in the backyard of this house to Ouija in the middle of the day. The scariest of all settings, Richard.
Oh, yeah.
Which, a brightly lit, lush green backyard. After our barbecue.
This is not a budget that allowed for nighttime scenes.
Or atmosphere, apparently.
Oh, yeah, none of that.
We're not going to have any atmosphere in this. So the right away they're like, are you a good spirit or a bad spirit? And immediately it's like, bad. And you're like, well, then hang up. Just stop right there. You're inviting trouble at that point. But they don't stop. They're like, hey, where are you from, bad spirit? And then it spells out hungry. And they're like, this spirit's playing hard to get. How did you die, spirit? And again, it's like hungry. And they're like, this silly spirit.
Oh, I love this part so much. It makes me hungry for more of this movie. This is great.
But what I like about this is that a shark can't form sentences, but it can spell.
Very well.
Yeah. Just a very one-track mind.
Oh, my God.
So then Jill is like, oh, my God, something's happening with the board. And then everything goes Tron for a second. And out jumps a ghost shark head for a second. And in fairness, for $300, not the worst effect I've ever seen.
Yep. It's pretty sweet.
It's all right. But immediately they're like, everyone else wants to stop, but Jill's like, no, we need to continue. And they're like, I don't think so. And then she does an immediate 180 where she's like, okay, then. And then they just leave the scene.
Oh, my God.
I feel like that's a very accurate representation of how that ends.
Yeah, that was nailed it.
So once again, Jill has a bad dream that night. And so she calls her father, who is hanging out at home because he's up late working.
Oh, yes.
And she says, hey, I had a bad dream and we fooled around with this Ouija board. And he's like, honey, I've told you not to mess around with the occult. She's like, I know, Dad. But, womp, womp.
This guy is my favorite character. He is so on. This is the kind of acting style I expected the whole movie. So instead of the too real portrayal from the girls, we've got this highly trained local theater guy which we got a couple of those in this movie, and this guy is awesome for his skills. He brings it.
He's he's the best part about it because he seems to understand how stupid it is.
Yep.
And hey, speaking of stupid, here's Tully.
Hey.
Anyway, so he kind of presses her about the Ouija board situation, and she's like, yeah, it shook, and I think maybe I saw a shark. And he's like, I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm gonna have to do some occult research. And so the next day, we cut to an entirely different couple that we've never seen before, but we get a surprising amount of backstory about them, where they walk to this, like picnic pavilion in this park, and the guy I think is trying to propose. Is that your read on this?
I think I thought it was a first date.
No, well, no, because they went to prom together. He's like, we went to prom together, and she's like, I know, I was at prom when we were there, and he's
I was
like,
just, yeah. I think I was overwhelmed by the amount of characterization.
So I can't tell if the gimmick here is that he's trying to fuck her, where he's like, we went to prom, we've been dating a while, and it's time for me to get it wet, or if the situation is like he's going to propose to her because they've been dating for a long time, but he's too flummoxed by the fact that she's like, I'm going to get a suntan, and takes off her shirt under this pavilion, by the way,
Yes.
where she is receiving no direct sunlight.
Which is how Canadians actually tan. Canadians get tan under a pavilion.
It's
That's
all
how they do it.
reflected light.
Yeah.
Direct light will actually kill a Canadian, much like a vampire.
See, I wore my Canadian skin tone for this video.
Look, I'm right there with you, man. I got,
and I live in Florida, and I look like this.
Yeah, no, I legitimately spend time outdoors working in my yard, and my skin is just like, nope, we have no interest in changing color ever. I've lodged complaints with, the head of my body, and so far I haven't heard back. A lot of bureaucracy tied up in
Understood.
in my bodily functions. Anyway, so this couple hiking at the picnic table area is beset by the Ouija shark. We get the Ouija shark proper for the first time, which
boy howdy
is this real busted ass looking shark puppet that they have increased the opacity or decreased the opacity on and put a glow effect on.
Holy crap, this thing is hideous. There's at least 3. Like, I think one is clip art of an actual shark, and I think one is a puppet you can actually go like rack with, and then there's this other one that doesn't move at all. Its mouth doesn't open and close. I think this is the one we're seeing, but it's a classic.
I like how quickly it turns. Like, you could tell somebody's just holding it, and the ghost shark clearly hears somebody, and it's a real as it turns its head real fast. What's that? Honestly, not since that 47 Meters Down sequel have sharks been so clever with sneaking up on their prey, as if on fin-based tippy toes.
See, I've seen this now. I'll never watch 47 Meters Down too, because I've seen Ouija sharks. So
you've seen all the shark movie you need to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the Ouija shark kills both of the hikers with kind of this flare to white. You don't really see anything ever because we ain't get that kind of money.
No, that he gets killed, and she says, "Oh, thank God, it's going after him first." Or something like that. Right. And then I think when she dies, they throw some fake guts or something with fake blood at a tree, and they soil a tree, and that's the special effect.
I don't think they do it here. They save the blood on the tree for later. I think Jen is the first person to get that treatment.
Okay,
gotcha.
You
gotta escalate.
Yeah,
you can't start at 10. You gotta start at like a 4. And then build up to your 10. Um, Speaking of a 10, here's a 10 of an idea. Donna the next morning, or the same morning rather, but we're back at our house where Kim and the gang are all house sitting, and Donna immediately goes outside when she wakes up and just lights up a joint, and I'm like,
Yes.
I get it,
Yes.
I get it. You're on vacation.
She is a fan of the purple sticky punch as named uh in the movie Biodome.
Nice.
Yeah,
It's nice that we can get some biodome into this discussion.
absolutely.
I weirdly I'm not a fan of Pauly Shore.
No.
Uh, but
I'll give him Son-in-Law and Biodome as the movies I would watch again and would probably not tell people about watching them again. But other than that, you got to stop following his work. There's too much good. You can't process it all.
yeah, I mean, he tried that comeback at a certain point.
Oh no. Yep.
It was in some movie or another, and I don't recall. Uh, I don't recall what the name of it was, but it was at any rate that Comedy Store documentary. He popped up and was like, "Yeah, now I can make movies for the people, and just do what I want." And it's like, you mean make movies that no one wants to see anymore? I get it. But yeah, no, I'm more of a Biodome fan because of Stephen Baldwin, who I am, of
Oh
course,
my
a big
God.
fan of.
Yes.
Um,
With the cornrows in that movie.
yes,
Or the little dreads. The little dreads. Woo.
the like, hey, I just got back from Jamaica, kind of look.
They didn't want me there. They sent me home.
Right? They saw me. They saw what this looked like, and put me on the first boat out. Um, but speaking of boats and sharks, back to this stupid movie. Donna, all high, goes out and just sits on the diving board at the pool and smokes her J, and then does something that no one who has ever been high ever does, which is mistake a giant floating ghostly shark as being some byproduct of the weed she is smoking. Where she's like, "Oh, this is good shit. You want some?
Yep.
Want some pot? Go shark." And
Oh boy.
then it eats her.
And this is the scene. This is the scene.
It's right. All the pictures that you see of this movie, the one I posted myself earlier, captured directly from the film. Yeah, it's it's incredibly stupid looking, and it's like I said, it's the thing that really tells you they understand how dumb this is. But we'll as we come to our summation, we'll discuss how effective that is. But that's the point, I think, where it's most clear that, like, yes, they know what they're doing here with this
Yeah.
thing.
Big time.
But after Donna gets et by the ghost shark, the Ouija shark, the rest of the girls have coffee. By the way, no one asks about Tiffany, which I like. No one's like, has anyone seen Tiffany?
Wow. She's been gone for like 12 hours and no one has said a word.
Nobody cares about Tiffany at all in this
Oh
movie.
my God.
But they're, again, they've got empty cups of coffee, which is a thing that drives me crazy in a movie. And
Oh my God.
the whole debate of this scene is like, should we go get some breakfast? I don't know, maybe. Should we go to the grocery store? I guess we should. Jen, how about you go to the groceries? Well, I don't know, maybe Kim should. Nope, it's Jen after all. Whole scene.
Wow.
That's it.
And then yeah, it's Jill wants to know where the Ouija board is.
Right.
And then they argue because who cares if it isn't where you left it? And this is the stuff that I'm like, okay, I picked something very bad. Like this argument scene is like really painful.
It's terrible to watch because nobody in the scene is a very good actor, and the dialogue is not doing them any favors either.
No.
And the scene itself just should not exist in the film. But again, it's a 70-minute movie, exactly 70-minute movie, where we are not cutting any. If we shot it, it's in the film. And so Jill's dad is doing some research where he just, has no interior monologue whatsoever. It just says aloud everything that he's seen about summoning spirit animal sharks, which are predators. And even the book is like, by the way, don't do this. Like, you can, but don't, because, sharks are predators and unpredictable and they just want to eat shit. And he's like, oh, maybe I should refer to the tarot cards.
Okay.
And this is, you brought this up, so have at it.
This is important. So my wife, who collects tarot decks, she knows when someone has printed a tarot deck from the internet onto their printer and then chopped them up to use as a real tarot deck. And it was so funny. It was just hashtag DIY bother. It was so good.
And he tells the audience, I'm going to do a 3-card Monty with this, where the first card is what I'm concerned about or whatever. And he turns it over. He's like, oh, this must represent Jill, my daughter. And then he turns another one over and it's, a monster. And he's like, oh, this must represent the shark. And then he turns the last one over and he says, oh, this one is death. This must represent death. Oh, no. My daughter plus shark equals death. Ah! So he's got to figure out a way to save his daughter. Jen, meanwhile, goes for groceries through the what seems like very well-kept state park. And then
Lovely.
It finds the board in the woods, but wisely is just like, I ain't touching that thing, and then just leaves. And then we introduce kind of an important character to this movie in the final, 20-ish minutes of it, where the mother of the girl who got eaten at the picnic pavilion shows up at the edge of the woods where this cop is just kind of hanging out and like writing a ticket or going over a clipboard or something. And she says, hey, my daughter's gone missing. And she was with a boy, so they could be up to no good. And he's like, look, she hasn't been missing for 24 hours, so there's nothing I can really do other than give you this either blank card or a card that was shot in a way that was so overexposed you can't see anything written on it. You be the judge.
I don't know. I mean, they had money for printing. You saw those Ouija cards.
So there could have been words on it, but again, nobody's paying attention to lighting or anything. So this thing just looks like this shining bright square that he hands her in the movie. It's like our skin,
Yes.
So then he calls, the cop does.
Yes.
His brother-in-law, Judd. And this is another instance of like, we are getting way too much backstory for a character that does not matter. But Judd is at the bar, and we learn in very short order that Judd is not only probably an alcoholic, but also the cop's brother-in-law has been at the bar for a while, is clearly a dude who always takes the role of the victim, is trying to make some time with this bartender who is probably not an actor, but an actual bartender. And that's kind of it. It's just a lot of jibberjaw for like 7-8 minutes of this movie is just them bullshitting.
Yeah, the when they interrogate a suspect, it's good cop, drunk cop, and I like that. This guy, he was too cool to cut his hair for this role. He's got this horrible ponytail that is barely kept behind his back of his head here, and it just adds a lot of nuance to his character. That ponytail.
And all of this leads to nothing because as soon as he gets done having this, alcoholic monologue with this bartender, he goes to a stairwell to piss on the wall and is immediately eaten by the Ouija shark.
He was too lazy to go all the way up the stairs to the bathroom. But
Yes.
then again, if your bar has stairs up to a bathroom, you deserve what you get. Like, pick a better locale.
Hard to argue that it's anyone's fault but the bartenders. Who will later be cleaning up both blood, one presumes, as well as urine.
Yeah.
So Jen, meanwhile, is coming back from the store with all the groceries.
Yes.
And the Ouija shark comes after her. And there's a moment where she's like, take the groceries.
Yeah. She actually says, he wants the groceries and throws them down.
He
Brilliant.
hates these cans.
Damn these glasses. Damn them to hell.
We could do the whole movie.
Yes, we could.
The Opti-Grab, one of the great comedy bits of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So anywho, she gets got by the Ouija shark. Dad is on his way and calls Jill and it's like, hey, you need to get that board because of your, I don't know, occult background or whatever. You can have a spiritual connection that will tell you who the original owner of the board is, which you need to know in order to stop the Ouija shark, which is not, as it happens, true. As best I can tell.
Yeah, he says something like, our family has been involved with the occult for generations.
Right. But I don't know why it matters at the end of the day, because it doesn't matter. You know, like she anyway, we'll get to it in a second. And there's Kim who goes to take a swim, but before she can dive into the water, she sees a bloody stump of an arm. And it's like, oh my God. And then not 2 seconds later, Ouija shark eats her.
Now I think we haven't mentioned something. When the Ouija shark attacks people, there's a bright flash of light and both the shark and the person vanish. It's wonderful.
And there's a sound like lightning. It's like a
yes.
And all of a sudden, like you said, shark and person are gone. And with Jen, we got the splash. Because for a while, I was like, is he taking him to a secret spirit shark world?
I wish.
But, yeah, I wish too. But kind of is, as we'll learn. But then when Jen gets killed, that's where we get the splash of blood that kind of tells us, oh, Ouija shark is actually killing people. He's not just abducting them, which was my theory for a while.
Ouija shark abductor.
Yeah. The Stockholm syndrome. Ouija
Suburban
shark.
abductor, yeah.
The Patty Hearst story, only all sharks. Anyway, after the Ouija shark gets Kim, this is where Tiffany shows back up and is like, hey, my shift at Cheddar's is over. What did I miss? And
she's now full of uncle babies.
Right. This is like the prequel to Wrong Turn.
Oh no.
And so the cop, who kind of looks like an art teacher, but is probably the director of the regional theater. You're probably right. He calls Judd, but he gets no answer there, so he wanders into the woods also. And meanwhile, Jill and Tiffany are now in the woods where they're also hiding from the Ouija shark that is chasing them. And there are a couple of shots of like the Ouija shark going overhead as they're all quiet.
Yes. They reuse it. It's so funny. They duck down, they look up, and it's a shot of trees, and then the shadow of a shark passes over. Whoa, lovely.
Yeah, and like you said, that same exact shot is reused a few minutes later.
Nice. Don't waste it.
Hey, so nice they used it twice, right? Like, hey, it worked the first time. Anyway, Tiff's phone goes off to alert the Ouija shark to their presence, and she gets eaten by the Ouija shark as well. then Jill gets back to her car that she left at the, parking lot near the rocky shore. And then she just Terminators up. She like puts on boots and a jacket and gets a shotgun and just becomes
Hell
the
yes.
T-800.
Oh my God. It's so funny when she cocks that shotgun, man. This is ready. We're ready to rock and roll here.
Yeah, yeah. And the audience cheers. And then because of her occult background, the ghost of the owner of the board appears and is like, yeah, I put a spirit of a shark inside this board. And then he disappears, and then she just has the Ouija board again.
This part was so amazing because the audio for this movie is all over the place. Um, and usually it's fair to Midland, not bad audio, but occasionally the movie gets too loud. This was where they try to do an effect
Put some
on this
reverb on it.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's take it to like let's take it to -10 on the freaking filter here because you cannot hear a word. And I think that Jill says that was a she. Like, I wonder who she was, but I think I just misheard because the whole thing was a mess. But yeah, it's this freaking cloaked figure from beyond. I love it.
Yeah. And then maybe the greatest moment of the movie happens for me, which is when Dad goes to this gypsy lady.
Yes.
Who apparently he has worked with in the past on his occult researches. And she says she can distract the Ouija shark with her crystal ball.
Yep.
And all she's got to do is just break contact with the crystal ball before the Ouija shark shows up so it doesn't eat her. And that'll buy Jill some time to get the board or whatever she's supposed to do.
This scene is awesome. We needed more of this.
Yes.
If every time we went to Dad's character, he was with this awesome fortune teller lady, I would have been very happy. This is a highlight.
Yeah, because what Dad does is when she's like, oh, I think the Ouija shark is getting close, Dad's like, fuck that, give me that thing.
Yeah.
And grabs this crystal ball. It's just like, come and get me, Ouija shark, come and get me. And that's what happens.
Dude, if you've ever been to Spirit Halloween, you have seen this freaking crystal ball. It's got an LED light in it with the smoke, or maybe it's just opaque inner glass here, and it just flashes between different colors. He picks that shit up, and the fortune teller looks legitimately worried that he's going to drop it, and they're not going to be able to do a second take.
Yeah, it's a real one take operation.
And when he sacrifices himself, I laughed so hard. I laughed embarrassingly loud at that moment. That was great.
The capper of the scene is this woman saying, after a ghost shark has shown up and murdered a dude in her parlor, she says, "Mama told me there'd be days like this."
Oh man, who wrote that? I mean, I've never heard that before. That's so good.
This is the shit that, like, you had such a strong scene with Dad v Ouija shark, and then you just ruin it all. You blow all the goodwill with some of the just laziest, shittiest writing around. Anyway, we get to our big finale, which is the Ouija shark chasing the cop to a cabin that Jill is now in. And have we seen this cabin before? Is this just something along the path?
Nope. It just showed up.
All right. Just making sure. And then they're missing the planchette, so they can't interact with the Ouija board that she's found. Because that block of wood, it was too heavy to carry, apparently. It's not portable. Like, that thing, you gotta have a dolly.
No, it was a rental.
It was... Spirit, speaking of, came and repoed the Ouija planchette. We're gonna need the crystal ball back. We're gonna need the Ouija planchette. What? No. What
What
about the
about
shark? You can have the shark.
whose fingerprints are all over this freaking crystal ball? What is this?
Yeah, you're right. Oh God. And so the cop is like, here, use this gun.
Okay. I will challenge you, Bo, to find another scene where they use a freaking 9mm Glock or whatever this gun is supposed to be as the planchette on a Ouija board. Hopefully that'll come up again in another movie for this series. That's brilliant.
I'm hoping that we, over the course of this show, that we see a number of different items used as planchettes, and that we can kind of chart like, okay, there's a planchette, there's a block of wood, there's a gun. What other things can you use? Like a cup, perhaps. Like we'll see. We'll see. That's the beauty of this show.
Severed hand.
A finger. What if you just had a single finger to point to stuff? Yeah. You put it on the planchette, and it's like putting a needle in water. It'll point magnetic north. If you've got a human finger tied to your planchette, it's like 80% more effective. Anyway, that's just good advice. That's something that people watching the Ouija experiment can take home with them as just a good, like a good rule of thumb.
Solid.
Science, that's what we're all about here. And so as they're interacting with the Ouija board with this gun, it turns out that they're now talking to Jill's dad, who discovers that he's dead by like, oh, I'm talking to my daughter through the Ouija board? Fuck, I must be dead. And then sees the ghost shark. And we cut to dad on the ethereal plane, aka just against a sky blue backdrop.
Oh my god. This battle scene where he takes on the shark, and this, I was thinking about when this came out, because this must have come out at the same time as Doctor Strange, because he does the soul weapon thing where he's like spinning his hands and then the spinners come out, the orange like glowing things. And I was like, this is the real Doctor Strange sequel we wanted right here. Yeah. Brilliant.
Fuck the multiverse of madness. Where is Doctor Strange versus Ouija Shark? He's the surprise villain of the next movie. You think it's all gonna be like Mordo, but it's
or Wanda. Yeah.
But it turns out it's actually Ouija Shark. So,
I'm excited.
Ouija Shark manipulating Wanda. That's who's been behind it all along.
Oh, dude, don't spoil WandaVision. Not everyone's seen it.
That's who was behind it. He's the one who wrote The Dark Home. Anyway. So dad, now discovering that he's dead, he's like, wait a second, I've got ghost powers, and does the Doctor Strange thing. And he's like, you can't kill me. I'm not afraid of you, Ghost Shark. I'm already dead. You can't hurt me anymore. And then Ghost Shark just fires lasers out of his mouth.
Wow.
He's got photon torpedoes, this Ghost Shark.
11th hour surprise, unlike any other I've seen before. Thank you, Ouija Shark. Thank you.
Oh, well, whip that out on me. All right. And then dad is like, oh, you've got fireballs? Well, I guess I can, if you're going to Hadouken, I'm going to have to use my occult knowledge to do some shit.
Yeah.
Don't make me use my stuff on you, man. And then they just collide together, which creates an explosion in midair.
Oh my God, it's so good. I love that.
So
wonderful.
And then back at the other part of the movie where Jill and this cop are just hanging out in this cabin, the Ouija Shark just immediately shows back up. So dad was completely ineffective in doing anything. And the cop is like, oh my God, Ouija Shark's just circling the house now. We got to do something. And so Jill shoots the Ouija Shark with her shotgun a couple of times and it doesn't do anything. And then she's like, wait a second. I bet this all has something to do with that Ouija board. And then they destroy the Ouija board, which, of course, as science has shown on this program already, you destroy the Ouija board, you destroy the monster.
Dude, that was amazing. That freaking fake shotgun
Mm-hmm.
fire, like that little effect you get on whatever, video editing software they used, and the little like sparks and holes that kind of appear in the freaking Ouija board.
That's right.
Man, I was like, dude, y'all freaking art house cinema people, take some notes. This is the transcendent moment right here.
Don't go sleeping on Ouija Shark.
Hell no.
Um, as a wise man once said, it's like 808s and heartbreak, underrated.
Oh, Jill says, according to my beautiful notes here, uh, this is for my dad, you aquatic douchebag.
I didn't actually write that line down, and I should have. I'm so glad you brought that up because it really is a hero moment for
It's a
her.
humdinger.
Yeah. And so the Ouija shark just kind of fades out, and then they decide to go for drinks. And you think the movie is going to be over there, but remember, Richard, we've got 70 minutes to fill. And so the big twist ending, oh my God.
This no joke, this was my darkest hour.
This is the point where I was like, I don't even know what this movie is anymore. I thought Ouija Shark was one thing. It is taking a left turn on me that I'm not ready for.
They wanted to really date their movie. They wanted to make sure that a place and time was captured forever.
So a dude in a robe gets
Yep.
on the horn with the green phone at the White House, which is clearly being staffed by one Donald J. Trump. As you can tell by a MAGA hat by the phone.
Like they needed that so we'd know who it was. Like,
Right. And then you get here's what's surprising about this is the kind of silhouette that they use for Donald Trump and the mouth and the like orange makeup and all that stuff. It's like that's okay. And then 80 yard into this is just the worst Trump impression you ever heard.
ever.
It's not even like don't even bother if you're gonna do it this poorly. And so the idea is that this agent of the government is calling Trump to tell him that, hey, our experiment worked and we can go global now for Ouija Shark 2, the sharkening will all be, worldwide. It'll be
Yeah,
it'll be
it's
happening
gonna
everywhere.
it's gonna be huge.
Right, and that's what he says. It's going to be huge, but it's not even that good an impression. Like I did a better one just then,
But you don't
and
have the orange makeup smeared on your face.
right, yeah, well, yeah, that's what makes it good.
Oh, and the stubble. Oh my God, it was so they this super close up on this guy's mouth. It's so horrible.
And that's it. That's the end of Ouija Shark. Like you get some title credits or some
Yeah,
end credits with
slow.
super slow crawl, but also you get those like, hey, let's show a picture of our heroes one last time.
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whatever. Again, like we're an hour 3 minutes into this movie. We got 7 minutes to go before we're
Wow.
good for Amazon. So these credits, don't worry about sticking around. You saw
No.
what you came to see.
The song, I will give
Yeah.
them credit for this song because the song by our buddies Goat, the aforementioned Goat, it does tell the story of the movie. I am a big fan of that. Shout out to one of my favorite independent films of all time, Freaky Farley,
Mm-hmm.
where at the end of the credits, they have the Freaky Farley song that tells you the story of the entire movie in song form, and it's wonderful.
I'm a fan of that as well. I think that's one of the better moments, I would argue,
Yeah.
in the film. But it's real bad. It's just shit. This movie is just, that's the problem, is that for all the cleverness and the inspirational stuff about like you can make, if you wanted to make Ouija Shark 2 yourself and had a little bit of dedication, you could do it. And you could hardly do a worse job of it. And that's the problem. It's not so much that somebody made this movie Ouija Shark for me. It's that it feels cynical in the sense that nobody gave a shit about the details. Nobody was trying to make it a good bad movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the part of it that I find kind of offensive as a viewer, of like, it's fine if you want to make this movie, but just pay attention to the small stuff. Like, make it feel like you cared about the movie, and that gives me at least a little bit of a reason to care about it. And I just
Yeah.
don't think anybody did.
I have seen so much worse than this from the world of indie cinema, because once upon a time, I used to take everything anybody sent me. I was so happy to get free movies in the mail. I'd take anything. And I got films that were like this, but with even less heart and more dick jokes, certainly more cursing and very awkward, horrifying nude scenes
Yeah.
where it
Yeah.
really made you uncomfortable. So my tolerance for this kind of stuff is pretty high, I think. I think I could take it. I did find this charming and really ridiculous. I will definitely agree with you. They could have done much better. Wow. Yeah. Budget is nothing. You can do things if you just put that little bit of detail into it. But yeah, I had fun with this. I would never, ever sit through this again or recommend it or pick it for a podcast for Bo and I to talk about.
Not a second time, sir.
Not a
Uh,
first time.
yeah, like, this guy's done a lot of like asylum level stuff, and that feels right. I'm just looking through the prolific uh filmography, everything from Jurassic Shark, My Fair Zombie, She-Rex. Let's see what else we got. Heavy Metal Werewolf. Uh, ta- 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 ta. Raiders of the Lost Shark. That was him.
Nice.
Um,
See, I was surprised that he didn't go back farther, because it looks like 1999 or 2001 is when he started,
yeah.
got going. I really was shocked this wasn't like 60 credits and it went back into like the early 90s or something.
I like again, there's something I find kind of fun and Ed Wood-esque about somebody that can kind of make a living making shitty movies, and God knows I've certainly thrown a few bucks at filmmakers who have made some poop. But yeah, this is one that the charm isn't quite, there's some of it is there, but like I said, it burns through that pretty quick for me, especially by the time you get to the end of this, where you're like, just, I don't want any part of this now. This is love. Like, it does the opposite of Sticking the Landing, where the ending just makes you like, I feel worse about this movie now in the last 60 seconds. Or
He has a
8
he has
minutes.
a movie that's lower rated on IMDb in this, that's called Rise of the Black Bat, which looks like a Batman ripoff.
There's an Iron Soldier one that looks like an Iron Man ripoff too.
Oh,
So
topical.
yeah, no, yeah, this is a dude that's like, hey, you got a movie, I can make it much worse.
I've seen one of his movies.
Which one?
I have seen The Bone Setter Returns from 2005. See, when people used to send me movies, I have
Mm,
encountered this gentleman before.
yeah, oh, my old nemesis, Brett
Brett
Kelly.
Kelly.
Yeah. We'll be on the lookout. Hey, Richard, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh yeah, sorry for picking this. I just I wanted to skate on the dangerous side of the thin ice.
Mm,
Something.
over the skis on the thin
Yes.
ice.
I like all the girls. I like all the girls in this movie. Even Jill, short-tempered Jill. I liked all the characters.
Yeah, there's a spunkiness to some of this that is admirable, but
Yeah.
we'll never speak of it again. Um,
No.
and of course, people can find you at hello. This is the Doom Show, and tell them where else they can
Oh
find
yeah.
more of
Oh,
you.
we had a few comments in the chat. I don't know if you saw.
Oh yeah. Robert, let's catch up. Let's see. Okay, well now you can judge. Robert, did he live up to Heather? Probably not.
Was I
Uh,
defeated?
Probably. Never seen
Absolutely.
Sergeant Pepper's. You absolutely.
Dude, give it a watch. It's
You,
wild.
you kind of should. There's a point when they like when they leave Heartland in a hot air balloon. That's kind of the point where I'm like, I don't even understand what this movie is. Um, it's one, but yeah, but that Pick Six episode is gonna be something else. And Guest House is Pauly Shore. Yeah, maybe that's the movie even that he was talking about at the time of the documentary recorded. So,
Yeah,
um,
I don't know. I've never heard of that.
um, yeah. So sorry. Yeah, thank you for pointing out the comments though. What was the where can people find you? I forgot.
Oh, over at Legion Podcasts, you can find Hello, This is the Doomed Show, or hellodoomshow.podomatic.com, and you can hear more of me picking things.
Nice. And of course, folks, thank you for, I know if you're watching this, you enjoy the Legion podcast, you are a supporter. It is absolutely appreciated. Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoyed this dumb shit. I don't know what the next Ouija movie is gonna be, but I guarantee you, it'll probably be terrible. So come back for another Ouija experiment in another month. Thanks for being a patron, and we will talk to you soon. So goodbye.
Bye, folks.
Bye.